Transformations. By request, this is a Valentine's Day version. And this lesson covers reflection, translation, dilation, and rotation around the origin. So it starts on slide 2 with a definition of what a transformation means. It means a change. In mathematics, it means to move a figure around the coordinate plane. On slide 3, we're going to be given a definition of the 4 types of transformations in this lesson. So students may want to come back to slide 3 just as a review of what each one of these mean. We're going to start with reflection. So students are going to fill in squares using the fill color feature of Google Slides. And they're going to take this figure and they're going to reflect it across the y-axis. So here's the y-axis. It needs to be equal distance from the y-axis and a mirror image. So when they want to color the squares in, they just click and hold, and they highlight what they want to color in. Now they can come up here to the fill color feature. They can use any color they want. And they can only highlight a rectangle. So they're going to have to do this in 3 different steps. And that's what it should look like, a reflection across the y-axis. The next figure, they've got a T shape. They're going to, again, be reflecting across the y-axis. And choose any color they like. They're going to take this same T shape and reflect it across the x-axis. Again, equal distance from the x-axis. And a mirror image. Okay, they've got a few more of these to do. They're going to be reflecting across a line. So the line x equals 1 is going to be equal distance from the line. And they're going to reflect across the line y equals -1. Then they're going to be shown how to reflect when part of their figure is already across that line. So they've got 2 points here, and it's going to act like a hinge. So if they take this figure and they flip it up, it's going to look like this. So these 2 points will stay exactly the same, but the figure is just going to be reflected upward. Then they're going to be given their own to do, reflecting across the line. Then we get into translation. Translation, they're just going to be moving the figure. It doesn't change its orientation, but it just slides up, down, left, or right. So in this first one, they're just going to be translating 6 units to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And again, they can color it in any color they like. They have another translation. This figure, they're going to move twice. So they're going to move 4 units to the left and then 2 units down. And I have all of the completed slides on the teacher key. Another translation, a couple more. Then we move into rotation. Now this one, students are going to be rotating around the origin. So if they rotate this figure 90 degrees counterclockwise, which means it's now going to be down in quadrant 3, they're going to use this formula -yx. So they're going to plot each one of these points again. So this point, if it's -1, 2, using this formula, it's now going to be -2, -1. So they just click and hold on the point. The next point, which would be -1, 4, will now be -4, -1. The last point, -3, 2, will now be -2, -3. And then they can use these lines to just fill in their new triangle. Now, if your students are a little bit more advanced, you may want to just straighten out these lines so that they have to figure it out on their own. So to change the orientation of the line, just move it with these blue circles. And you can make them longer or shorter. And that way the students will have to make sure these lines go in the correct place. So to make the new triangle, they would have to make this line a little bit shorter. This one they're going to have to move and make it horizontal. But if your students are struggling, you may want to just leave them like they are and give them that little extra boost. And now they have rotated 90 degrees around the origin. Now the next one, they're going to be taking this triangle and they're going to move this clockwise, which means it'll now be over here, 90 degrees, using the formula y negative x. So they take each one of these points, put it into the formula y negative x, and then create their new figure. They've got a couple more to do. Now the final rotation, this is the most difficult. They're going to be rotating 3 times. So they're going to first use the formula y negative x, using these original points, and then use the formula negative yx, and then an 180 degree rotation using the formula negative x, negative y. So they should end up with 4 triangles all rotated around the origin. And again, I have the teacher copy for how that should look. Dilation is changing the size of something by a scale factor. So if we dilate this figure by a scale factor of 2, then every point here in the original figure is going to have the coordinates multiplied by 2. So if this is 1, 1, multiply both of those numbers by 2, and you get 2, 2. And then this one, negative 1, 1 will be negative 2, 2, and so on. So the figure is now 2 times greater, and then they can just fill in the lines. And again, if you want to change the orientation or the length of the line so that they have to figure it out themselves, you can do that. The next one, they're going to be dilating by a scale factor of 3. So they take each one of the points, take the coordinates times 3 to get their new figure. And then they're going to dilate by a scale factor of 1/2, which means it's now going to be smaller. So if the scale factor is a fraction less than 1, the figure will now be shorter or smaller. It will be 2 times smaller. So they're going to take each of the coordinates and divide by 2. And then their final slide here, they're going to translate this figure 5 units to the left and then reflect it over the x-axis. So there's going to be 2 transformations in this slide. And then finally, they have drag and drop vocabulary, just kind of as a review. They're going to take each one of these vocabulary words, they're going to click and hold, and then move it into the correct place. And that is the lesson on transformations.